Highway and Environment Committee meeting. We have one resident joining us this evening, Neil, and he will take part in the public participation session, point 5. So first of all, apologies for absence. I think we're all in attendance, aren't we, Jill?
Yeah, but you've got apologies from Councillor Sam Bambridge.
Oh, lovely, thank you. And members' interests. Are there any members' interests for this meeting? No. No, thank you. So minutes, to receive and approve the minutes held on the 8th of December, and then we'll go on to receive and approve the minutes on the 14th of December. So are there any comments with regards to the 8th of December, the minutes there? No, so can I suggest that we agree to approve them? Thank you, Councillor Penton. Are all in favour? Lovely, thank you. And then the following minutes on the 14th of December. Were there any comments on that? Councillor Donaldson.
I was going to say that we adopted them.
Lovely, thank you. I'll second that. All in favour? Thank you very much. So chairperson's announcements. I haven't got any particular announcements this evening. So I'm going to move on to the public participation session. So Neil, please join us.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I always seem to have trouble with the mute button on Zoom.
No, we all do, don't worry.
That's on my phone. So yeah, I'm with you now. Thank you.
So yeah, please go ahead. Have you got a particular question that you want to ask?
Well, I think, as you know, we've now got a discussion group formed with regards to the 2,000 houses out the back. We're in contact with Birchington as well with regards their 1,600 odd houses. They're having a meeting, an extraordinary meeting this week. So I don't know if this meeting really comes under our sort of umbrella of where we want to go with this, but we just thought one of us should attend. So that's me. I just wanted to put to the committee, and Jill, I don't know if you did get the spreadsheet that I sent you from Craig Sue with regards the population of Thanet and its net growth.
Yes, I did.
Up against the ONS statistics and what it actually is coming out as, and all this disruption is actually absolutely not needed for all these houses, considering the way Thanet actually has a growth population. But the landscape's changed, hasn't it? COVID has got in the way. Developers are now being asked to consider brownfield sites, office buildings, inner city and inner town sites, as opposed to grade 1 land, which is what our farmland is. They've also been asked, or Roger Gow was asked to put to developers, and I've had an email reply from Roger Gow this week, albeit very short, that he's obviously pushing it with ministers at the moment. But developers have also got in the bag 400,000 consents already given for houses. And if we don't need 300,000 houses a year every year, which is now proven with this mutant algorithm thrown out of the window, then why on earth are we allowing grade 1 farmland to potentially being dug up, which is an easy dig for our developers, out of town developers, just to basically trash the place? Should we not now ask this ought to be reconsidered, and any new and pending applications should all be now under these new guidelines and not considered under the previous algorithm? And I suppose the question to you all is what the committee's opinion is on those points that I've raised, and is there any way you can support? I think, as you said last week, you're there to support us moving forward with this. Is that something this committee is prepared to do?
Neil, is everybody happy if I come back on this first? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you know, Neil, this has been sort of what I've been working on for the past pretty much 6 years of my life. So when it first came up and there was 1,000 houses, you know, we did a number of protests, we did a petition, we did everything we could to try and stop the houses being built on the agricultural land. We went to all the consultations, we did all the representations, we went around, you know, even knocking on people's doors, and they all sent in letters against this. Now, as you know, the problem is that there's not a law against building on agricultural land. And that's fundamentally the issue here, is that in planning law, there is no law against building on grade 1 and grade 2 agricultural land. The second thing is that there's not actually that much brownfield site left in Thanet. There is some, but there's not that much at all because we built on it. So what we've got left is sort of this agricultural land, which is basically up for grabs, and people can build all over it if they want to. And I think that's kind of where we got to, you know, a couple of years ago, was trying to change the law on building on agricultural land. And we asked Sir Roger Gale to help us. And every time we've spoken to him, he has been, you know, agreeing with us, but nothing's actually changed, and nothing's really happened. And since then, the local plan's been signed off. So now the local plan's been signed off, even if we did get the number of houses down from, say, 17,000, 17.1 thousand, which is allocated a local plan, say if we kind of got it down to half, perhaps, that, you know, even if we did that, the problem is that these allocations that we've got at Westgate and Birchington are called strategic allocations, and the number of the houses, they won't be taken off of these strategic allocations because they're kind of ingrained into overall planning. The money coming from the housing on the strategic allocation is being used for new roads, new schools, new medical centres. And so therefore, even if we did get the number of houses down, it still wouldn't impact on these developments that we're really particularly concerned about. And that's the, you know, there's a number of things that are really upsetting about the whole situation, but this is kind of the fact of the matter. However, whatever you want to push, so with Sir Roger Gale, perhaps there is sort of something else that people can think of. You know, we'd be way behind you all the way. But you know, I need to kind of go, you know, I've spent 6 years on this, I need to hand over the baton to somebody else now. So I'm, you know, I'm very happy for, you know, residents and resident groups to do that, and us being a support for them. Do you want to come back on that, Neil, at all?
If I may, yeah, no, thank you for that. I understand, Hannah, and thank you. I mean, I've only been there 2.5 years myself, so I've missed a lot of this. It certainly was one of the first things when I arrived. I was sort of, you know, I never knew there was so much agriculture in Thanet, and on our doorstep, and I found it absolutely horrendous when I was told about these plans. But I think our main point is now is that since we last met, Hannah, we had the steering groups and this and that, things have changed, haven't they? I.e. the mutant algorithm has been given the elbow. It's been proven that we don't need that amount of housing now. The piece of information I sent Jill this week with the ONS statistics, again, we don't need this amount of housing in Thanet now. And who's going to live in them if we don't need that amount of housing? And just something I wanted to say at last week's meeting, this is a quote, it might not be word for word, but it's pretty much accurate, from one of the archaeologists that have done the field studies over the back. And the words were pretty much, this land shouldn't be built on, there's too much under it, which is why I believe a second survey is being done. So, you know, this is what we're trying to put together. This land, yes, it is grade 1 land, and there may be no laws against it, but it's widely agreed that that land is the best growing land in the country. And with the advent of Brexit now, and people saying, well, it's going to start impeding our food deliveries. So all these little nuggets rolled together, and the fact that that landscape has changed because of COVID, should we really not now be rethinking whether we actually need to destroy, if you include Birchington, some 500 acres of pristine land like that? I don't see how we can't reconsider this now, irrespective of local plans, government plans. whatever, because things have changed, and this, it beggars belief. And I
I'm going
don't
to
think,
open it
I
up
don't
to
think we can give
the
up
other
on it.
councillors to add to the conversation now, and then after that, we need to move on to the next agenda item, if that's all right now.
Yeah,
but
I've got something else to do in about half an hour, so if I can sort of make my excuses in about half an hour, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, this on a meeting like this, it's not so much like a steering group where we can have like a continuous discussion.
Yeah.
You're going to, you're bringing up this point. We'll, and then you've come back on the point as well. So then I'm going to open it up to the councillors, and they can say their bit, and then perhaps we can sort of communicate over email going forward to support your group.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I'm going to open it up to the other councillors. Who else would like to speak? Councillor Pennington.
Thank you. Firstly, I fully support what our chair has been saying in terms of where we are. We, as a community, have never wanted this development. We realise there may be a very restricted need for new houses in the Westgate area, but nothing like what is proposed. I think it went through because there were two very strong forces on Thanet District Council. One was Whitehall kicking them to get the development plan finished, and as you probably know, they actually moreover dictated it at the last stage to get it through. The second is the desire to get money from the developers to improve the road infrastructure, particularly upgrading the Shottendane Road, which is a long-held dream of many of them. I think where we go from here is firstly to continue to press the arguments that you've made, which I think are perfectly valid, but also to realise that as far as TDC are concerned, they have to implement government policy, and I do think it's probably firstly a question of operating the system as it is, and you're right to bring up the archaeological point, and there are various other issues on which we could put the current application in question. And the second is to push the wider issues, simply that local communities have to have a stronger voice in this kind of decision. People saw what happened with the KCC proposal in town, and I think it's important to let them know that we have not given up. Thanks.
Any other councillors would like to talk on this? Councillor Page.
Sorry, just unmuting. Again, Neil, I support what you've just said. Those are all extremely valid points, and you're right, things have moved in some ways. And just to support what Councillor Pennington has said, the public voice of residents does need to be strong, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's a decision that's been made, you shouldn't keep going on and fighting these things. You know, I do occasionally have residents say those things to me, but I don't think that you should ever give up with these things. It's not a done deal yet, and things do have a way of altering over time due to circumstances, whatever they may be, and you should never give up. You should just keep going. You may even find at some point that you may not win the whole battle, but you may make some significant alterations and changes which are more acceptable going forward. And I think the arguments you've made are very, very valid. I certainly do feel that there should be more survey work done archaeologically on the fields, because that is an important aspect of finding whether or not those fields are viable in any case. But certainly residents in both our villages should keep moving forward with their arguments and make their voice strong. It's the only way that people will listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cornford?
Yes, hello, sorry. Yes, Neil, I spoke to Jack Scott and he was asking about the report, the archaeological report. And I emailed Jill and she very kindly spoke to Emma Fibbins, and I was trying to find the email on my phone, but I can't. The upshot is that it appears there's quite a lot of additional information that needs to come out before that is missing from the current consultation. So they're going to add it in a further consultation. I can't find the email, Jill. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, throwing
so
you right into it there.
that's okay. So yes, what TDC, the planning officer, said was the archaeological report has still not been submitted, and obviously this is a significant study and survey that people want to see, and there are other items that haven't been submitted yet, so there will be further opportunity for consultation. I did check that and she said yes, that is the case. There will be further consultation opportunity.
That's right. Yes, thanks, Jill. Brilliant. Because Jack was asking if it could be, if the consultation period could be extended, but no, TDC came back with that. There's also the idea that Danielle Dunn, she used to be the clerk at Broadstairs, and she was a trained planner before she became a clerk, and she's now gone back to that. And she can give advice to, I mean, she advises parish and town councils, but she also advises independent bodies, groups, and she's very reasonably priced. So that's an option. If people are prepared to put some funds together to get some expert advice on how to go about, for instance, well, I don't know this for certain, but Councillor Dr. Scott has frequently said that, or advised that, to make an impact, it would be best to go for changing the law on the protection of agricultural land. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Dr. Scott.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely the way forward, but also sort of all the noise that Neil can make is a benefit. I think the more noise residents can make, and the more that you can sort of encourage your MP to move forward on this, because we have been making a lot of noise, we have been encouraging him to do something about it, but over the past 6 years nothing really has happened, nothing has changed. In fact, we've gone from 1,000 houses to 2,000 houses, so it's gone the opposite way. So I think it is strategic. You've got to try and find the legal loophole, but also making noise about things that people can't disagree with, the fact that actually this is wrong to build all over grade 1 agricultural land, and just to keep on saying the normal no-brainer stuff without having to know the law underneath. I think if you just keep on saying the things that everybody's like, yeah, this is ridiculous, the better, really. Was there any other points, Councillor Cornford?
No, just that there will be a further consultation with more information added, which includes the report, the archaeological report, and the fact that there is expert help out there, which is not overly expensive. I mean, it's not hundreds of pounds an hour. The other thing, Neil, you said that you mentioned Birchington, and I don't know if I heard you correctly, an extraordinary meeting. Is that Birchington Parish Council are having an extraordinary meeting on this subject?
Yes, this Thursday. Or, yeah, some of the, actually might be the ward councillors. It was only a very briefly something that caught my eye over the weekend, but it's definitely this Thursday.
Where did you see that information? Do you recall?
I think it was on Birchington Action Group, or whatever it's called, on Facebook. 3 councillors, without risking cutting you off, I can't look for it.
No. I know the problems. Oh, well, that would be interesting to try and join that meeting.
Yeah, they've got, like, as you do yourselves, put up notification of a meeting. You just have to apply if you want to watch via Zoom. It's definitely 7 o'clock, and it's definitely this Thursday.
Right. Okay. No, thanks. That's it.
I know that Councillor, sorry.
Is it Councillor Krupp? K-R-U-P-P or K-R-U-P or something? Name rings a bell.
Yes,
I'm just trying to pull name.
Krupp. It's a distinctive name, isn't it?
Yeah.
With careful pronunciation.
Councillor George Cupp, K-U-P.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an employee of Sir Roger Gales as well.
Okay. Well, he's vowing to do everything they can to stop this.
Yeah, and he's a damn good chap.
Good. Yeah, that sounds the sort of fellow we need.
It is.
Thank you, Councillor Winning. Did you you had your hand up earlier, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it's just a minor bit, but it's something which needs to be borne in mind in some ways. Shottendane Road, even without any more people living in Thanet, needs work to be done on it. It needs to be improved. It is a narrow, very busy, very narrow road that gets heavily used. Now, we do have the concept that could be used as a justification almost for why, you know, it's an advantage of them doing all the development is that they will improve the road. And so that could be, for some people, that alone could be a sales aspect to why it's okay. So we get a few more houses, but we get a much better road. So the be all and end all is people would possibly agree to it because they can see the benefits, but not the issues with it. So I think that is something that needs to be borne in mind, that, you know, we need the road. We don't want the houses, but we need the road to be improved. And as I say, some people could think, well, it's a way off, and so, okay, we'll accept the houses because of the benefits. From a sales point of view, I think we need to be cautious.
I think it's a good point to make, because there are other benefits, as in the larger medical centre that they're planning out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the new school might just be the fact that, you know, it's going to increase the numbers, so you need a new school, but, you know, you're getting a new big school, you're getting this big medical centre, which is it's actually a hub. So there's much more services, which is an interesting sort of thing for Westgate. You know, Birchington, you can go there for lots of different services. So there are benefits in that way, but really, from our point of view as well, we're not getting the benefits for Westgate Town.
No,
so on the back of us.
I totally agree with that. But we need to be cautious and watch out for the fact that people might see it that, oh, well, there are so many advantages and benefits that waylays the problems. But we need to, you know, it's things that could be used to try and push it through is saying, look at all the benefits you get. Well, hang on, we don't want it in the first place. And the benefits, one or two of them could be quite useful, like the road, but we mustn't let them use that as, you know, a point to try and push it.
I think that's also for Birchington as well. Is the fact
and Garland, yeah, it's the whole area.
A bypass. So you know, in Birchington, with this new road system, instead of cars going through to the centre of Birchington, this new road system actually allows a bypass. So it's not an understatement to say that is a benefit for Birchington.
It's needed, but you know, the new road or the revised road is a needed thing, but that's without putting more houses here.
That would be nice, wouldn't it, if we had the funds for that rather than
be very good. But we mustn't let them use it as a sales point to try and push towards getting more houses because of the perceived benefits in the long term.
Thank you, Councillor Winnan. Councillor Page.
Take that point further and refer back to the medical centre and the school. Whilst we could do with a larger medical centre, that wouldn't have been a consideration without the extra housing and the fact that there might be extra families with larger numbers of children, which would need to be accommodated. So that again has, I believe, been used as a bit of a selling point. And the fact that they being the developers are making it clear that part of phase 1 is the medical centre. No, I take that back. Phase 1 is actually Garlinge. Phase 2, which is the next phase following that, will include the medical centre quite quickly. And they've made it clear that that would happen quite quickly. And that could be regarded as a bit of a carrot and stick as well. So it's not it's not a case of straightforward benefits. There's always a tag attached to it. So we all need to be very careful that we don't see what are regarded as benefits as complete benefits. There's always an offside. And you need to bear that in mind and keep a balanced view on these things. So what Councillor Wallen is saying about the road is true, but it's equally true of the school and the medical centre as well.
Councillor Donaldson, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, you know, I can only reiterate that, you know, we would fully support your initiative to, you know, mobilise local people against the building programme. And one of the sort of observations that I've made is that, you know, this whole consultation process is just complete lip service. And, you know, there's a complete difference between consultation and negotiation. You know, as consultees, we're essentially told what they're going to do. And what they're going to do, what they decided to do, I mean, in terms of social housing, in terms of the benefits to, you know, Westgate Town, are very small, very small. And, you know, they're talking about 2,000 houses, which was the, you know, the numbers that Danielle Dunn, who was our sort of a legal advisor, came with. 2,000 houses at 300,000 a unit, you know, is a 600 million, so 0.6 of £1 billion build contract, which, and Westgate Town is probably likely to get 106 money of something like 100,000, which is, you know, sort of 0.001%.
Even if we get that?
Even if we get that.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Donaldson. Just the last point, Neil, you might have seen it in the chat that I've shared. So that's a link to the consultation that we did in December. So when we got the planning application through, it's basically the link goes to the Westgate Town Council, and then you look under consultations for the 2,000 houses. So you'll be able to actually read our representation. And we used a planning consultant, Danielle, to look at the actual legal aspects of it. So we've gone through and we've gone against it through different legal aspects, which is in planning material law. So you'll be able to read through and see what we've stated. So it's quite specific, but it's kind of trying to concentrate on those particular material aspects. So part of it is sort of, sorry, that's my new Christmas present, which is a
canary.
Every hour a different bird goes off. Sorry, that's a wren. So yeah, so you'll be able to exactly see the our thoughts on it now, but it's mainly, I think the introduction is quite general, but then it goes into specific planning points, which we hope will you know, slow the application down, and then really need to think again about sort of, you know, the way that they're going to build these houses with regards to climate change, the impact on birds, and things like that. So yeah, have a read through that, and then you'll kind of get the gist of where we're at now. So I hope that's helpful.
The lady you and I spoke about, Hannah, that you was very impressed with.
Danielle Dunn. No, there was actually another lady that we were that we were looked into, but I don't think that we employed her as a consultant. I'm not too sure what that reason was. I can't actually remember.
Yes,
Okay.
we couldn't make contact because we couldn't find the email address for her. We were unable to contact because the lead that we had, they were unable to, under GDPR, share that information with us.
But Danielle Dunn is qualified in planning, so she's been actually helpful. So yeah, please do come along to any following meetings as well, and keep in contact with us through the clerk.
Yes, we will. Thank you. Thank you for your time and letting me speak. And I can obviously report back now saying that we have the town council's support moving forward. Daniel Dunn, you said about raising some money. If I may just ask at the end, is that something the town council would be looking to fund moving forward?
That's a separate question, which you might want to come back at another meeting with regards
That's
to.
fine. I thought I'd just put it in there now. So.
That's all right.
Okay, I've got to go, but thank you so much, everybody. Anyway, good to see you all.
No worries. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
Neil.
Bye.
Okay. So moving on to the next agenda item, the Kent Active Travel Consultation. So we've got a number of documentations. Jill, would you like to lead on this to start us off?
Yes, yeah, happy to do that. Okay, so hopefully all members have had an opportunity to read the information. So there was a very helpful consultation brochure that KCC produced, and clearly because of the issues with the proposed one-way system on Station Road, when the biggest, I think, criticism was that there was no consultation, they've actually got this ahead of the game. I mean, this is something they've looking at, and this is the first stage of the consultation. So by no means this is the finals, this is the first stage. And this actually is open to the 19th of January. So we've got a few days to get our response back through. So they provided a plan, which hopefully you've had an opportunity and printed that. Yeah. And also the Equality Analysis Impact Assessment, which is actually, it looks quite a wordy document, but when you look at it, it's very detailed, and they've obviously gone to a lot of trouble with that. So I think that's really worth a look. And then we go on to the actual consultation questionnaire. So if you've had an opportunity to check, there are clearly sections on every proposed scheme. And I don't suppose that we want to actually respond to all 5. We're clearly only interested in the Thanet one, Birchington to Margate Main Sands. So if I don't know if Councillor Dr. Scott wants to go through question by question, or I mean, we don't need to start obviously at the front, because I'll be able to say that we're responding on behalf of the Town Council. And also question 3, I know how to respond to that one. So really, it's section 2, we don't respond because we're actually responding as an organisation. So we do need to start with section 3. I don't know whether Dr. Scott, you want me to do the questions or you wanted to.
That's fine. No, because I mean, because you're going to be filling it out. I don't mind reading it out if you want. I've got it in front of me here. So section 3, attitudes to active travel. Can everybody see this page? Yeah. Yeah. I just need to come back to Zoom to make sure that everybody's happy with where we are. Can everybody see section 3 on the questionnaire? I'll read it out as well. And then as we go through, then at least sort of it's easy for you to follow.
Give me a minute.
No worries.
Okay, go.
So section 3, attitudes to active travel. KCC places a high priority on encouraging active travel because it provides benefits to our health, well-being, safety, and supports local economies. We want to make sure that walking and cycling is safe, easy, attractive, and inclusive for all. So question 6, how important or unimportant are the following factors in deciding whether to use an active form of travel, walking or cycling? Please choose one option. So we've got very important to not important at all or don't know. So if I just read out the 5 and then we can start from the beginning, just sort of get the gist of it. So the 6 things that we're talking about are how important is increasing physical and mental health by keeping active? How important are environmental benefits such as improving air quality due to less congestion? Journey time is more reliable, reduce costs of the journey, increase activity on local streets to improve sense of community, which I thought was a bit weird, supporting the local economy by visiting local shops and businesses more often. So how important or unimportant are the following factors in deciding whether to use an active form of travel? So first of all, how important is it to increase physical and mental health by keeping active? So I'd go for very important.
Yeah.
Don't know what other people think.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy with that? Very important. How important are environmental benefits such as improving air quality due to less congestion? Does somebody want to suggest from my point of view, it's another very important one, but I want to see what other people think. Councillor Cornford, yeah.
Yep, I would say definitely very important.
Yeah.
Great, very important on that one. How important is journey time is more reliable? Councillor Cornford, what do you think?
Well, is it? Because if you're cycling and it's pouring with rain, you're not actually going to cycle, are you?
Hmm.
I've put don't know for that, because reliable journey time is obviously important, but with active travel, it's, well, if it's a fair, if it's fair weather and you've got a good track, you've got a good cycle path, cycle area, then obviously journey time is, if you're planning something, if you're planning to go from A to B and sightsee, then that is fairly, it's fairly important. But as from just getting from A to B, I don't know. What do other councillors think?
I think it's a bit confusing. But I think if you know the journey, if you know the route, then it probably could be more reliable than getting on the bus, because the bus could be late, or getting a taxi or whatever. But I'm not too sure. Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I think looking at it from a sort of an overview, I think all 6 things here are important, or very important, and and certainly should be for an active travel scheme. There should at least be aspirations that the scheme wants to achieve. So I think it's something very important to all 6, basically.
I know what you mean. How important or unimportant are following factors in deciding whether to use an active form of travel? Is it like in our decisions are they asking kind of like how you would decide to use an active form of travel? That's how I've kind of
yeah, I think you just got to form a consensus, because I think this is part of the first stage of the consultation. So they just want to gauge by what influences people's thinking, really. So they clearly know we're going to be responding as an organisation. So this is not a personal opinion, but it's a consensus from the committee.
So journey time is more reliable.
Hello?
I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to think like, sorry. Did you have your hand up? Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say journey time is more reliable than presumably versus vehicles, cars. And that's going to be, that is the downside of active travel because of weather and, especially around here, wind, rain. So, I mean, it's fairly important. I would say fairly important.
Yeah, I don't think it's very important. But I mean, if we've got good links, then it is easier to get on your bike if it's not pouring down with rain than getting in a car, finding car parking, blah blah blah. Councillor Page.
This particular question I find a little bit bemusing, but thinking it through, I don't regard it as important as things like the air quality or increasing health and well-being. I know a number of people who actively travel anyway, and because they're serious about it, things like weather conditions, etc., don't come into their equation before they make a journey. They do it because they choose to do it. I think if the proposals for new cycleways and footpaths were improved locally, more people would do it. It's about encouraging people to do it. So personally, I don't think this particular question is as important as other things. I would put it fairly low down.
Yeah. So, I mean, the last four: journey time is more reliable, reduced cost of the journey, increased activity on local streets to improve the sense of community. I mean, I'd never have that come across my mind ever. Supporting the local economy by visiting local shops and businesses more often. That could be the case if you're cycling, but it might not be if that's not where you're cycling to. So those four, I'd say fairly important, whereas the top two are very important. But Councillor Pennington, sorry, I haven't come to you yet.
Yeah, thank you. Just to say that I like Councillor Page, was rather bemused by the question about travel time, because if you have an appointment that you can't afford to miss, then obviously the travel time is going to be very important. You don't want to be late. If you're just going shopping, it doesn't really matter whether you arrive 5 minutes after you thought or not. So it's not a very helpful question in my view. I think it's maybe lower priority than the others. I have some sympathy with Councillor Donaldson, who said that they're all very important. I think this one is just it shouldn't have been on the form. Thank you.
Councillor Conford.
I suppose that's a question for people who are against active travel, but the increased activity on the local streets, I have to say, in my experience on Sea Road, for instance, with all the cycling and the walking that's gone on, it does feel much more community orientated. Yeah. And it certainly is a road that should be 20, because driving in, because it really has been very busy, which I've always found lovely. So I think I would say that one is very important, definitely. Okay. That sense of being part of the rest of us, especially now, but going forward as well, in conjunction with the physical and the environmental benefits.
Okay, so we got very important, fairly important, reduced cost of the journey.
Fairly important.
Fairly. Increased activity on local streets. You wanted very important. Is everybody happy with that? Very important for that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then supporting the local economy by visiting local shops and businesses more often. I suppose if you're on your biking or walking, you do see more things and you are more aware of your surroundings, aren't you? So it's a good point, but I'd never thought about it before.
It would be an incentive.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, I think it's a benefit, probably, that we just haven't thought of. So should we put very important for that as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's move on for that question because it's just a bit weird. Okay. So question 6, the schemes. So then we go past Canterbury 1. Scroll past that.
Sorry, Councillor Dr. Scott. Section 4, the schemes. Yes. So sorry. Yes, you're skipping to the pages, aren't you, to where the Margate Sands one?
Past Folkestone, and then you 15. Get to Birchington. Yeah, page 15. So how important is it that improvements are made in the area regarding the following aspects? So safe cycle routes, very important, shall we say?
Yeah. Yes.
Discouraging motorists taking shortcuts, rat runs through residential areas. Is that a problem in Westgate?
Yes.
It is in some areas.
Okay, so very important.
Yes.
Tree planting and landscaping, well, very important from my point of view.
Yep.
Yeah. Places to sit and rest. Oh, very nice.
Yep.
Lovely, very important.
Yes.
Yep.
People happy with that? Yep. And provision of crossings for pedestrians and cyclists. Well, yeah, very important.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Bang the drums on that. So next page. To what extent do you support or oppose the following improvement ideas? So, a new east to west cycle route from Birchington to Margate. Do we strongly support this?
Yes.
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 Mm.
Oh. Are we all in favour of strongly supporting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A new north-south cycle links to the coastal routes, so connecting up parts.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a bit unsure. I'm a bit unsure exactly where they're connected up, but that was the email that I sent round. You might have read that, but we'll come on to that in a minute. New cycle parking facilities. Support.
Yes.
Is it, well, is there evidence that it's needed?
I mean, it encourages you to cycle, doesn't it? Because then you've got somewhere safe to put your bike.
Mm.
And if you're going to create some places to stop and rest, you'll need those facilities for your cycle or multiple cycles.
If you increase the number of people cycling, there will be more places they can stop needed. Simple logic.
So support that one.
Support, yeah.
Improved crossing facilities for pedestrians and cyclists.
Absolutely.
Strongly support.
Yes, definitely.
Because that's one of the problems, isn't it, really?
Yes.
Network of signage to navigate cyclists and pedestrians. Network of signage to navigate cyclists and pedestrians. Well, that's one of the problems that comes up often, isn't it? The signage and making sure that everybody's going in the right place and, going at the right speed and not running people over. So should we say strongly support on that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So healthy neighbourhoods. Reduce the number of motorists taking shortcuts. We strongly supported the previous one with regards to this, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, I mean, the question is put in a rather biased way. I think if you get a breakdown somewhere, you need alternative routes to go. But yeah, I would say support, but I'll go along with strongly support if others want it.
Yeah.
What do people think?
Yep.
Strongly support?
Well, it is a vaguely grey area based on, as Councillor Pennington's just said. And also, if you reduce people taking this shortcut, they're going to find another shortcut. So you don't prevent the issue, you just put it somewhere else. But the principle is sound, that you need to try and do something about it. Yeah.
I mean, reducing the number of motorists taking shortcuts through residential streets. Are they going to do that by how? Because this is about cycling and walking. I'm not too sure. Are they going to change signage or? Councillor Cornford, you're on mute, by the way.
I was just going to say that as we're dealing with Birchington and Margate, and it's going to be, the way that it runs, we've got the Canterbury Road, so the motorists are going to go down Canterbury Road, so it isn't too much of a concern for us, I wouldn't have thought. So support it on principle, but I wouldn't strongly support personally, but that's up to the majority.
Okay, support them.
Yeah.
More attractive pavement and road surfacing materials.
Yes.
Yeah, that would encourage me to cycle on it rather than potholes everywhere. Councillor Convent.
Sorry, again, this is incredibly important because I know cyclists who are constant active travellers. They have no other form of transport, and the road surface is incredibly important because otherwise they get lots of punctures. The gutters are full of rubbish and nails and what have you. That is strongly support. I would.
I agree with that, because I know people also who complain constantly about the bad conditions they have to cycle across and through sometimes, and have had accidents where things have not been smooth and have come off head first on their bicycles.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yes, it is important.
if we look at examples from Europe, they have, you know, proper cycle paths, and they're smooth and beautiful, and you can cycle along them, and you know, you can use any type of bike, and you're not going to bump into a pothole and fly off. So yeah, so very important. Sorry, Martin, Councillor Penton.
Sorry, I just want to say it says more attractive. I mean, I assume that means well maintained or something.
Cleaner.
Maybe in the comments we could put adequate surface is essential for encouraging cycling or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point, because we assumed automatically that it was talking about surfaces. But what does that phrase actually refer to? To be honest, I find with a lot of these surveys, they are a little bit weighted in the questions and the way they're created. And that's why sometimes there can be a little bit of confusion in some of the options that are offered. So I think you make a good point there.
Jill?
Yes, I just wanted to point out that in the consultation document, it does actually show you that the placemaking improvements that they've highlighted that they would consider is improvements throughout the area, such as seating, tree planting and landscaping. So they're actually giving you hints in the consultation document.
Thank you.
Super.
Okay, so more attractive pavement and road surfacing material, strongly support. More seating.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, strongly support, and more trees and landscaping, strongly support.
Yes.
Okay. So if you do not support any ideas, no, we support them all. Would the improvements in question 16 encourage you to walk more often and cycle more often?
Yep.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be happy to get my bike out again if some of these things, including safety, were considered seriously and put into place. I don't cycle anymore because I just don't feel safe. Trying to get from here to the coastal biking trail is very dangerous. You take your life in your hands, and that's why I don't cycle these days.
Thank you. Perhaps are we able to add that to the comments from Councillor Page?
Yep.
Yes, I can add that.
Thank you, Jill. Councillor Cornford.
Just question 18 gives provision for that.
Yeah, so maybe we can add that in those comments there. Thank you. So question 18, we welcome any comments you have on our initial ideas. Please provide them in the box below. So I sent round an email. I don't know if people have picked it up. Let me see if I can find it. While I'm doing that, are there any comments from councillors? Councillor Page.
There is a diagram where indicated in green is where a new cycle route is suggested, with suggestions crossing over the Canterbury Road between Birchington and Margate, but it's not very clear exactly where they might be proposing those. So just suggestions from myself might be to consider Cambourne Road, having a crossing, cycle crossing from Cambourne Road across via the golf course to the coast. And a little bit further along, and perhaps part of the same unit, is to include cycle and walking paths between King Ethelbert's and Ursuline, and perhaps incorporate that as part of the new Puffin crossing that's being considered. I know that's a different project by KCC, but perhaps there could be some cohesion there. Just a couple of suggestions.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Cornford.
Yeah, the speed limit along that road, 20. I think it would be good to mention that.
Mm.
And I mean, Councillor Page, there is a crossing at the bottom of Camborne, opposite the golf course.
There is, I agree, and I'm aware of that, obviously. But I think in terms of making these pathways and cycle routes officially part of this project would involve upgrading some of the things that do already exist and making the walking and the cycling much easier for the school children, particularly, that are coming into that area and using it on a regular basis every day. It could encourage them to be walking and cycling a little bit more if there was a properly planned system in place to include them as well.
I think it's a good idea to just raise the point that the new Puffin crossing is being put in. So then, therefore, can this be, can that be incorporated in these plans? Which they probably have thought about it, but it might be a different department. You never know.
Exactly.
So it's good to kind of raise that. My email. I sent an email around with regards to it. I thought that it looked like a really great initiative for the area. And that Canterbury Road is not an option to cycle along. It's fast and dangerous. And I think that follows on from Councillor Cornford's point, is that actually there's very little point in adding cycle path on the road if we're not going to decrease the speed of the traffic. So therefore, if we're going to have cycle paths and we're not going to then decrease the speed of the traffic, they need to be along a widened footpath with a cycle lane and a pedestrian lane. So there's something to think about. So yeah, any improvements travelling east-west or west-east between Birchington and Margate would be welcomed. The north-south improvements are also welcomed. However, as Councillor Page pointed out, it's unclear where these might be situated. We would like, I would like KCC to focus in on the Minster Road to St Mildred's Road north-south connection. Minster Road can be dangerous for cyclists currently. However, with the new development on the south side of up to 2,000 houses, this connection will become even more important. It would be good to link up the ideas of the developers of Millwood Homes with this improvement scheme to enable those future residents to travel safely in the south-north direction along Minster Road or Victoria Road or Belmont Road to the town seafront and link up to the new proposed cycle paths. So that text was sent into Jill, and I was wondering if people were okay, just sort of for Jill to just be able to copy that over, if that's okay with councillors. Councillor Page?
Yes, I agree with that, and it also prompts a reminder that we haven't seen a travel plan from KCC regarding the Gallops development.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, could we add that sentence as well?
Yes.
That, we're particularly concerned about that link because we haven't seen the travel plan for the development. Thank you. That's a good point, Councillor Page. Thank you. So, are there any other comments? No? Lovely, thank you. Got quite a few tabs open now. Okay, so planning decisions by TDC. 20 Red Hill Road, alterations of the roof from hip to gable, erection of rear dormer, together erection of a single story rear extension, granted permission. 149C Road, erection of a single story detached garage workshop and outbuilding to rear, together with the erection of a 3-metre high boundary wall, grant permission. So this agenda item, significant previously approved and awaiting approved planning applications. So are there any planning applications that have been granted permission that might have implications for the community? I don't think there are there's many implications on those ones. I can't think of any implications in particular. So the next one is to discuss any actions that are ongoing from previous planning applications. And I think the only one really that we're still sort of keeping an eye on is the church one, where there was a great number of trees proposed to be cut down. And I think that, Jill, have we had any feedback from that yet? Do we know sort of what's going on?
No. It's on my list to chase the TDC planning officer for an update.
Retro you. That would be really useful. I know that they're using it as a business currently, a furniture business. So they got retrospective planning application to use it as a business site. But yeah, it would be interesting to keep tabs on that. Councillor Cornford.
The one that does have implications for the community is the 1406 St Mildred's Bay cafe. Now, that's been granted permission.
Has it?
Mm.
When did that information come through? Just
This week. That literally was one that I think Jasmine sent to you this Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, I saw it, but I didn't click on it because I knew that we weren't discussing it at this meeting. No. Oh, it's been granted permission. Okay. So I think we need to get the details of what's been granted, because there was some confusion over whether there was an extension on the roof or how that was being designed. I think there hasn't been an extension on the roof. And also it'd be interesting to see whether it's been granted with any conditions. So that, you know, has it been granted with the condition that they only open at the same opening hours as Millie's Bar? And I think Councillor Banbridge may be able to report back on that. I'm not, because I think it was called in to planning. I think so.
Yeah, we asked her. We did.
Okay.
Yes. I need to, because she has sent me a quick email this evening before the meeting, but I need to clarify before I can report back to you all. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be good to understand for the next meeting, and maybe even possibly if because it does have implications, it might even be a quick agenda item on a full council. It doesn't have to come back to this one. It could come to the next full council meeting if you wanted to discuss the implications for the community, and unless there's been some conditions put on the application which mitigate some of the impacts. But Councillor Cornford, you might want to decide whether you want it on the full council agenda or not. So the next one, planning application for consultation, 15 Quecks Road, replacement of timber window and door with UPVC on front elevation. So timber windows and doors to UPVC. I asked Jill if she could inquire with the heritage consultant who was off, but she consulted with the planning officer who explained that in a conservation area, they don't favour UPVC in those areas. They favour the timber, which fits into the conservation area better. So I went along and had a look at Quecks Road, and there's one house that's been changed to full window and door, and there's been another two who's had their windows changed to plastic. However, all of the others in the line it's all wooden sash and wooden doors, and they're very nicely done as well. So I'll open it up to the floor. However, the advice seems to be from TDC planning that in a conservation area, this is not something that they approve. Councillor Wallen.
I would just say that if it's done in a correct style, and plastic these days, UPVC windows can look for a long time as if they are wooden and painted. If it's done in the correct style, so it looks in line with everything else, and based on the fact that others have done it in that run of houses, it's a bit dubious for us to decline it, I would have said.
Thank you, Councillor Wallen. Are there any other? Councillor Pennington.
Well, I hope that those who have replaced the timber frames with other materials have had planning permission for it.
It would seem from the planning inspector, the planning officer's advice, that they wouldn't have had planning permission for it.
Well, exactly.
Councillor Cornford.
I think maybe TDC should take into consideration the fact that some of that terrace has been changed, and there are, you know, environmental heat retention qualities of UPVC. They're not very, you know, they're not big mansions. They're cozy cottages, and yes, conservation. You know, it hasn't been adhered to. It's a fine line, isn't it? As you say, quite a number of, well, at least more than one other has been turned into plastic, has been replaced by plastic. There are environmental and safety considerations with UPVC windows, so perhaps TDC should take this into consideration.
The wooden ones that I saw when I walked along there looked very well done. They looked very secure and warm, in fact. And then the wooden doors looked, you know, very nice in that row. The plastic door that was there did look massively out of place. The plastic window, in fact, didn't look so much out of place, but definitely the plastic door looked completely out of place for that row. So I think it's kind of, I don't know the benefits of, because I think that the wooden conservation windows and wooden doors may be as good at keeping heat in. I don't know the exact measurements for it. I think to be honest, we need to kind of look into this, because often when we are looking at conservation, we then think to ourselves, well, is this the right thing to do with regards to climate change and energy efficiency? And I think we probably need to have a bit more of an investigation into this, and ask those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and wood will last a lot longer than plastic if it's cared for. I mean, if it's not cared for, it lasts longer than plastic. And that the doors are, they haven't really got to grips with decent UPVC doors. Not really.
Councillor Page.
Just one point on UPVC, sorry, that we should consider is whether or not it's been recycled, because you can obtain recycled UPVC. So that may be something that could be considered as part of the conservation discussion. But equally, this row of cottages is part of the town's history and heritage, an early part of it, and really should be respected. This is a difficult issue to decide on. I think you're quite right, Councillor Scott, when you say that we should look into the background to these particular types of issues a bit more carefully. I mean, they are not big windows or doors, and it has been described as minor in nature in the application. But you have to balance the heritage with the quality of the work. And I know from personal experience with my own property, trying to replace an old 1932 door is proving a big problem for me, because it's still the original door but needs to be upgraded and improved. The only reason I mention it is because of the issues that I'm having trying to restore that to some kind of original quality. And there might be some issues along that line here with this. We don't always know what's in the background, I think is the point I'm making. And it's while it's just a couple of small windows and a door, there's a lot more to this that makes it a little bit complicated.
I think it is a bit of a tricky one, but in planning law, if you buy a house in a conservation area, you need to follow the conservation laws. And as I said, the PVC, UPVC door that I saw in the whole row, which is a long row of all beautiful wooden doors and, you know, done very nicely for the area, it does stand out. And, you know, the conservation law is that it's, you know, that it's kept as a wooden sash windows and wooden door. So I think sort of fundamentally in planning law, the material consideration is the conservation area planning laws. Councillor Wallen.
Yeah, although I said, you know, based on the fact that some have had it done in that row, and it's not that necessarily, if it's well done, not that different. I would also make the point that currently involved in building a house out in Selling, and that on the planning that was a strict, had to be brand new, had to be just 4 bedrooms detached, but they all had to be wooden windows. You know, so it is still a current, very much a current thing. Brand new house, got to have wooden windows to basically go in line with the other properties in the estate next door to where we're building. So that's the way it is. You know, some places it is a requirement. So, you know, I can see both sides of it. I can see that it should be definitely wooden, but I can also see that for a small house like that, it's as long as done in style and others have done it, then there's not much to say against doing it in decent UPVC. So I can't really give a fair answer either way. Sorry.
Thanks, Wallen. Councillor Wallen, sorry. Councillor Pennington.
Yeah, I mean that is the planning regulation, and I think we should object to it unless technical arguments are advanced, which would justify not having wooden frames.
That's a good point. Would you like to propose that, Councillor Pennington?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that. Who's in favour of this? Lovely, thank you. Are you abstaining, Councillor Wallen? Thank you. Thank you, Jill. Okay, so we come to the end of the planning committee meeting. The next meeting is Tuesday, the 9th of February. In between that, sorry, I did have just a quick update. In between that, we're sort of looking into section 106 ideas around quickly getting in some kind of a little bit more of a plan and financial plan with regards to where any section 106 money could come to Westgate with regards to maybe our ideas around the community centre or the library. So we need to firm up that idea and send it into TDC pretty quickly for them to take that into account. So the clerk and I will be forming a meeting around that with Bronwyn and various people, but everybody will be kept in the loop with that. And then obviously the neighbourhood plan, I'm making a plan to meet with Danielle to work through some of those points. So that, yeah, so that was quick, sorry, Chairman, update that I didn't think I'd had an update, but I do. But thank you very much. That's the end of the meeting.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
I'll see you.